Good morning, friends. Welcome to my Tea Time Tuesday. I'm Lark, and I live in Wisconsin, Zone 5, southeastern Wisconsin. Haven't been on for a while because things are growing, but it's the same old, but I want to show you an update on what I planted. These are my sugar snap peas that were put in around the end of April, and I did soak them and use inoculant on the peas before I planted them. They seem to be doing good. Our weather is about 80 today, 85, so they don't like it by the afternoon, but they always jump back. I am using concrete reinforcement as my trellis, and I also add some twine so I can tuck them in a little. We're looking forward to it. I think next week we'll have them to eat. This is my garlic, and I already picked the scapes, or most of them, and the garlic should be ready to harvest about 2 weeks. My idea is I got them planted close, so I don't know how big the inner bulbs are going to get because it's dense. 4x4 area, and I think I have 150 garlic cloves in there. They were planted about 2 inches apart. Experiment. I tie them up so they don't flop all over to the paths. On this side of the fence, I have a cucumber, and well, there's 3 seeds were started, and I did buy organic plants. I do not start anything anymore. And then some green beans, pole beans, a garlic that I must have dropped on the outside of the bed there, and I let it grow. I planted romaine lettuce. I did plant some seeds, but I didn't start seeds. Romaine lettuce, and it's doing well. I've been taking the outside leaves, planted way too close together. And then one of my tomatoes. So this one is big beef, getting some flowers on it. I'm trying to thin it, taking off the main leaves so I have air circulation because everything's tight here. Another tomato, that's Juliet, with some beets that came up from seed in spring. They didn't germinate, I didn't think, and then later they germinated. My carrots, and they're doing well. I have to thin them. I'll thin them when I can pick some that are decent to eat too, you know, maybe the size of my baby finger. And then some more pole beans. And what's coming up on this fence is last year's borage. On the outside of the fence, can you see that flower through the fence? Here's another one. I left them grow. Some of them I pulled, some of them I left. They will attract pollinators, and I do believe that the leaves are good for the soil. You know, once I cut it down, put it on the top of the soil and let it feed the soil. I'll do a little more research on that. There are a few of the borage I left, but some insect likes it too. So let's see what else. This is garlic chives here. I eat the leaves, and then when the flowers appear, then I do the flowers. I keep a bucket down here with some of my tools. I am keeping my bird bath here, this tiny bird bath, because I heard that it will help if you have water in your garden, the birds from pecking at your tomatoes and cucumbers, because what they're searching for is water, and cucumbers and tomatoes have a lot of water in them. So they seem to like it. I put a cover, and this is a new cover, in insect netting. Very fine. Oh, I'm pleased with how the light gets through it. But I bought a 10 by 33 feet, I think. And of course I cut it wrong. So hard to cut the right distance because I'm not mathematical, and I didn't know how to compensate for the arch, and I thought I did. So it is being held down by boards, but it works. It's tight, but it is working, and I'm pleased with I have broccoli in there, and some of the lettuces, they look stunted because I took them from the lettuce romaine I started over at the other bed that I showed you. I transplanted it over here because this gets a lot of shade because of the trees here. It'll start getting shade around noon, I think, and then for a couple hours. So I plant my brassicas in here, and that white butterfly did not get in there this year. Isn't that cool? I'm happy about it. My Swiss chard is doing okay, but you know, even though this does grow in the shade, it would grow better with sun. A friend of mine has another bed here, and hers is huge, but she has full sun, all full sun. This was my second planting of spinach, and I thought it would do okay here without bolting too early. It bolted earlier than ever with the heat. Oh well, I buy my spinach. So what else on that bit? There is nothing. I'm mulching with chopped up leaves, but I put those leaves on last fall, so they're pretty well broken down. So we have here at Three Pillars, he has a big, hundreds of feet of leaf pile. So I'll go over there and put them in a garbage can, and then use the weed whacker or the string trimmer to chop them up. And I think I'm going to get some manure or compost to top that off, because I'm going to try planting something else there. Probably the lettuces and spinach, but I'll wait for a while. Okay, here I have a basil. I bought a start, and I'm experimenting with growing in these galvanized beds with really good soil in here. And then I told you in the last video, I think I took on this area here directly in their soil, which is a lot of clay and stone. I did amend it a little, but I didn't want to spend money on bringing in bagged good soil. So it's holding a lot of water, so I have to be careful not to overwater, because I have cardboard down first around the plant all over, and then when I planted the plants, I made a hole and then put in my plant. Amended it with a little soil. I used Garden Tone organic fertilizer, and that's about it. That on the fence line here, I have calendula all along the fence, and it seems to be doing okay. It is growing in their soil. So my experiment is, I have tomatoes here, and then I have the tomatoes I showed you in my raised bed. These tomatoes here are bought to share with people in my community. So here again, we have onions, some kind of big yellow. They're doing okay. My peppers, there's something eating them. So I'm going to come down just with some dish soap in case there's aphids. I don't see anything, but they don't look real good. Peppers, I think that's Big Bertha and a orange bell pepper, and then this is a cayenne pepper, 3 of them. More basil, and I started some seed. I think I forgot to show you where the carrots are in that. I started some seed for hopefully late summer. I'll have basil. A volunteer sunflower, but I'm debating about taking it down because I don't want it shading my cucumbers. So this is old concrete reinforcement that I brought with. And a couple tomato cages wired to it. These are from my old house, and they've got to be at least 20 years old. So this is romaine that I bought, didn't start from seed, little plant, and it's beautiful. Hopefully I saved the tag. If I want to get seed, this is the one I like. Or it's just how they started it. Cilantro, most of my cilantro has gone to seed. Some of it I have chopped up and am freezing, even though I know that it will be wilty or black when I take it out, but it still should have flavor. And then I pulled out cilantro here. No. Yeah, cilantro, and then I planted more parsley. Volunteer Swiss chard. My bigger parsley. Some dill. And I have dill growing in my herb area over the fence in that bark area, and it is not doing good. More shade over there, and it doesn't like the soil that's mixed with the bark. And I know not to mix your plants with soil that has bark in it because it leaches the nutrients. But I tried not to use bark, but apparently it's hitting bark. Nasturtiums, I started. I just put seed in, soaked it, and this is Emperor's something, but I like the darker leaf, blue-green, and then the brilliant red-orange flowers. And yes, I eat that. I eat the flowers and the leaves. So those are my 3 beds and some chives. Some beets in here. Now, I just transplanted this Juliet tomato, hoping that it gives me later tomatoes. And a mistake is I put it on the, what would you say, that's the west side of these big tomatoes, so the morning sun, the east sun, is blocking it. But it gets afternoon sun. That's how thick my garlic is. And I like it that I can pick my peas from both sides. The straw method is working, but I have to get more straw from Paul. Here's my little tiny seedlings of the basil here. And what's good about this is it'll get the morning sun, but that intense afternoon sun the basil shouldn't get because it'll be blocked by this tomato. Other people's garden, they still like in-ground gardening, so it's doing well. They water every day. I water maybe once every 3 days. It seems to work here in the raised beds because they do dry out faster. Raised beds do. But I have mine covered with just straw or the leaves. I prefer the leaves. I think there's more nutrients in those leaves breaking down than there is in that straw. I have a little zucchini in here. It's supposed to only get like 6-7 inches. And I do have the barrier on for a while until the flowers show, because I don't want that striped beetle, the vine that lays its eggs in the vines of zucchini. So we'll see if that works. Calendula should look pretty, plus I am wanting to harvest the flowers a lot because it is really expensive when I go to, I think it's Mountain Rose Herbs that has it and sells a lot of it because they were out of it when I wanted it. Tomato coloring. This is what I'm telling you, that it's in the ground. I have cardboard under here. I have cardboard, but it's a few inches away from the stem. And the soil is moist yet, and I watered 2 days ago. So that clay is holding it. This one is supposed to be an early girl. It is an early girl. We'll see how early I get tomatoes. And this other one is a Juliet. So a Juliet here in the ground, and then I have the Juliet in the raised bed. We'll see which performs best. Both get about the same amount of sun. The one in the raised bed over there probably gets more sun. This does get early morning shade, I think it is. No. Noon. Around noon it gets shaded. I do have some of the rosemary that I bought a Christmas tree in 2021. It was shaped as a Christmas tree. And it lived. I kept it downstairs. It was in a cool place with some grow lights. Bought lemon verbena. Careful not to overwater. I saw it starting to turn yellow. So with that clay soil, and it's mounded, so it should drain off. But you know, it doesn't. Clay doesn't drain well. So lessons learned. If I'm going to do this area next year, I need to amend the soil more. Right now, I'm just filling the space because nobody wanted it. More calendula. So I'm sure somebody can tell me what, with this color, what it's lacking in. Almost a purplish. That is a big boy. Another experiment. I have the big, big boy here, and I have one in my raised bed. One in the raised bed, the color looks better. Then over here we have, let's see, early girl, and celebrity. So that's doing okay. Back here, I dropped a few seeds, and I got to transplant it. There is a tomato in here. I think it's, some of the common ones? Beefsteak. And I'm going to transplant that someplace in the raised bed. No, I was going to put it by the peas, on one side of the peas, and let it grow up that. Our granite area isn't finished yet. It's a mess in here. Partially finished, but they tell me they're going to, so it looks better. Everybody's garden is doing pretty darn good. There's some that neglect their area, but it's getting better. More and more people are taking more pride in what they have. Now these people here did not want a Husker's red cherry tomato, so they gave it to me, and this bed is empty. Nobody is gardening in it, so I put in the Husker's red here. It's getting a lot more water than I wanted to because they're sprinkling the cutting garden every morning. They have the sprinkler going. This is our cutting garden. It's coming. And all residents can pick from it. It's just not very full yet. But when they water that, it hits over here. So we'll see if the fungus hits that quicker or not. Looking good. Look at this here. These are some new people that moved in. They live on my floor. Their garden looks good. Let's just take a scan of my herbs. And if my battery runs out, I'll say bye now because I don't know if it will or not. I cut a path and need to recut it into this wild area here so I can pick my nettles. This is what I'm talking about. My dill in the bed looked really good. This here is very stunted. So lessons learned. Either I amend that hole totally, about 18 inches around, or I don't do it. The chickweed's doing okay, but of course chickweed would. I think it would look more healthy though if it had better soil. Some sunflower seeds that were buried by the chipmunks probably, not looking good. Again, the color. So that's telling me this soil isn't ready to be planted in yet. Another rosemary on this side. And I will winter them. Experiment. Well, that is lamb's quarters. Doesn't look as good as when it just comes up in a nice, healthy soil, like virgin soil, like over there. It would look good. Soil's poor. I did amend the soil somewhat for this St. John's wort I just bought because, again, it's so expensive to buy the St. John's wort tinctures or just the flowers. So I'm going to start growing it. I'm going to let it go to seed, put in some decent soil around here, and I do want it to spread a lot. The light should be perfect for it here. It's just the soil. Oregano, getting close to picking, almost flowering. Probably next week I will cut it. Lemon balm, starting, it's getting these black spots on it. I don't see a bug. I wonder if it's eggs. It's sad because it started on my peppermint. There's spearmint here. My horseradish, which I used in my fire cider this year. Spearmint's got that yucky bug on it too. My white yarrow I'm getting ready to pick. Queen Anne's lace is in here. The peppermint. Let me see. Do I see those black spots on the peppermint? Not yet. All this out here I share with people. Or that's the purpose of planting out here. Aggressive herbs, good place for it. And then people can pick if they want tea or something. I do try to keep a clearance area here. So the peppermint, I do start pulling it back. Funny, usually the deer eat this daylily. We'll see if they do or not. There's Queen Anne's lace all around it. And they nipped a leaf early in the season when the daylily was coming up. But they must have got some of that Queen Anne's lace too, and they didn't like it. So we'll see if they hit the buds, because it's going to be above the Queen Anne's lace. Lavender, starting to flower for me. That part of the lavender from here to here died back. I cut it to the ground and it's coming back. And I mostly use the flowers fresh for my tea because there's not enough of them. So when I pick my morning or my nighttime tea, I use the flowers here and then lemon balm and chamomile. And sometimes a pinch of licorice root. This is curly dock going to seed. I do eat the young leaves. Sage with starting to flower. And I pick some of it. But it gets that black spot on it too. Here's some peppermint getting the black spot. No, that's not peppermint, that's spearmint, yeah. And more the other side of my beautiful horseradish for fire cider. Creeping thyme needs to be cut again. I do cut it, dry it. oregano, and plantain. Doing okay. But it should come back next year with more vigor, I think. I think it's a perennial here. It's hard to know because plantain goes to seed and you get so many of them, so I don't know. But the leaf isn't as big as where in that weedy area there in our garden, the plantain leaves are huge. Oh, so I'm guessing again, the soil. So my friends, thank you for taking time to come and visit me. Sorry that I don't have videos every week, but you don't need to see the height of my tomatoes changing. I'll give it to you maybe once a month. Or if something comes up I think would be cute, I will let you know. Back there is my, let's see if I can zoom in on it a little. My elderberry. Am I hitting the elderberry? But anyways, it's back there and it's flowering. And now I want to pick some of the flowers because the flowers are different medicinally than the berries. So I will pick some. And my June berries that are on campus aren't good this year. We had next to no rain this spring. So I am guessing that's why the buds fell off. There's like one berry to every cluster. Let's say there's 10 berries on a cluster. Only one survived. And that's throughout the whole tree and bush. And we have about 4 or 5 of them. So I think weather had a whole lot to do with it. This is my beautiful meditating area. I try to get out here for morning sun and evening sun. The golden hour. Feeding my hoping that it is increasing my melatonin naturally. So take care. Thanks for visiting. I hope your gardens are going well and you're healthy and happy. Bye-bye.